All right, welcome back to Judging 101, Nuts and Bolts from Behind the Tiny Lamp. This is, I believe, episode 28. And today we are going to talk about hiring a judge for working at a show choir competition. And I'm joined today by somebody who has run a show choir competition for many years and is an East Coast show choir icon. And this is Becky Bussiere. And so I'm going to start by just having Becky tell us a little bit about kind of her background and her amazing program.
Hi, Damon. Thank you for having me. My name is obviously Becky Bussiere. I grew up in Dudley and Charlton, where I teach, but I didn't always teach there. The first time I heard about show choir was at Shepherd Hill, and we had a pre-show choir thing where we step-touched, and our chorus teacher went to SCA, and she said, we got to do this. We got to do this right. So, long story short, we started to get really into show choir. We came up with the name Fantasy. I was in the first one. And
what year was that in?
1984.
1984. I graduated. I was in show choir from 80 to 83 in high school.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
It's been so many years. And I've been fortunate to watch our program grow and then finally, take over, and keep it going. So that's always been great.
So you are the director now of the program you grew up in?
Yes.
Okay, that is so cool.
It's like the dream job.
Yeah, that is so cool. Yeah. And now, what are Shepherd Hill is one of the really dominant, well-known programs on the East Coast. Tell us a little bit about your program for people that might be watching this that are not aware of a lot of East Coast show choir.
People aren't aware of a lot of East show choir because it's never been an accepted form of choral music in this area.
Is it more jazz focused or concert focused or music theater focused or what?
Anything but show choir.
Okay.
Because the establishment does not believe that dancing and singing at the same time can be sung properly. And the music that we choose isn't of like a noble range, but they don't understand. They're thinking old school. Sure. You can't change their minds about it. Sure. Even though we're doing, some of us are doing college level material. Right.
And the amazing thing and the really beautiful thing is the fact that East Coast show choir has blossomed anyway.
Right.
I mean, it's, I was blessed to judge Becky's competition just yesterday, and we had I think the judges saw 20 shows over the course of the day. And so even in an area, the really awesome thing is even in an area where show choir is not considered legit enough by people that are maybe too ignorant to know better, it still has flourished because it impacts lives, it improves lives, in some cases it saves lives, and it's a beautiful art form that we're all blessed to be a part of. So anyway, well, we are going to talk today not about a category on a score sheet, but we're going to talk about something that judges, both new and veterans like me, need to know because it's important, and it can determine the way that we conduct ourselves and kind of handle our reputations and our integrity, and it's going to be helpful to competition directors because this is going to be a little bit of a tutorial on maybe how to hire a judge. All right. So first question, when you hire a judge, what are the main qualifications that you look for in somebody?
Well, firstly, in this area, we do not have a lot of qualified show choir judges because the form isn't as abundant as it may be in Indiana, where you can have 5 or 6 different competitions in a weekend. We have 6 for the whole season, We can't borrow each other's
and all
people.
all the most qualified people
Right.
are competing already.
Right.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
generally, we have to hire away and bring in. My philosophy has always been to hire from around the country, so that the directors they're paying a lot of money to come to my festival, I want to give them, the bang for their buck. So I want somebody from the West Coast, somebody from the South, somebody from the Mid, all with different eyes and different focuses to help those directors make better shows, how to improve their show. We're the second competition in the series, and my main objective is education and helping everybody make better shows until we get to finals.
Okay, and so the people that you hire are people that you believe will help groups find ways to get better.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm looking for positive people, people who are willing to accept the limitations of New England. We do not have show choir as a class. We do not get funded. We do not charge children thousands of dollars to be in it. So true New England style, we work with what we got. And,
Sure.
And we're doing a pretty good job
Yes,
with
you
what
are.
we got. COVID didn't help, but judging from yesterday, everybody's kicking back in and trying. And we had a very good panel that I believe is all very positive and gave positive comments, and maybe saw things that the directors can't see because they're in it.
Yeah. Sometimes
you
when
watch
you're,
a show for so much.
when
right?
when your nose is right up against the tree, you don't see the
Right.
forest. Yeah.
So the more people speaking to you, the more you're going to get out of it.
Absolutely. So you started to talk about this a minute ago, and you've already touched on part of it. How do you describe diversity in a panel? What does that mean, and why is it important?
Well, for me, diversity is a range of experience, location, temperament, maybe.
Okay.
I try to get people that they're specifically part of show choir. It's not, I don't think it's good enough to find a choral person that doesn't know what show choir is to have come in and judge.
Right.
Or,
Right.
no shout out to dance teachers, but a dance teacher who's never seen a show choir.
Right.
They're going to look at that
Yeah.
totally different than someone who's been in a show choir.
Which would be different from a dance teacher who has years of show choir also.
Right,
Or
that would be different.
or a professor of voice who does concert choir, but also before that spent 10 years in show choir.
Right. So they know the genre.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I think that that's an important thing. There are sometimes that a competition, and I'll just speak into this for a second, will hire people purely for maybe even a name recognition that have never done show choir. I'm going to give one example from 30 years ago because this was kind of a humorous example. But and I won't even say the state, but I was at a competition many years ago, probably about 30 years ago, where a lady began her critique cassette tape by saying, "Hello, everybody. My name is blah, 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 blah. And I am the meteorologist for Channel 6 News in whatever city. I'm so excited to see all of you today. This is such an amazing thing. I didn't know that show choir existed before this." Her beginning experience with show choir was they went, "Oh, here's someone on TV who is in front of a camera. Let's hire her because people have heard of her before."
Right.
And she was giving people advice on their choreography and their vocals and knew nothing about it. And that's obviously a highly extreme example, but it happens. Okay, well, let me ask you this. When you are judged, what are some things that judges can do that kind of turn you off as either a choral director or as somebody who would hire somebody to be a judge? What are things that make you kind of step back and go, ooh, that's not something I want to associate with?
Someone who on the tape focuses on things that are not in the student's control.
That's a big one. That's a big one.
Mainly, costume choice is not up to the student. The design of the show is not up to the student. How they execute the show is up to the student.
Right.
How they execute the vocals and all that, those are things students can control. So if you're going to spend the whole tape telling me about something that has nothing to do with the student.
Here's how you should have done your show.
Right.
Not, instead of judging the show you did.
Tell me about the kids. The dance captain's going to look at these things. They're going to make notes. They're going to tell the other kids, that's nothing they can fix. If you want to do that, then tell me what the kids did. And then at the end, hey guys, this is for the director. And then tell me what I did wrong with my show.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, and we talked about that in an earlier episode, the idea of never, as a judge, put anything on a taped comment or an audio or a video critique, or really even write on the score sheet that you would not want the students to hear.
Right.
That needs to be a text, a Facebook message, a phone call, or a person-to-person conversation. Yeah.
Or unsolicited reaction. So maybe it was a fiasco and things like, oh my God, I can't believe you did. Oh, what is that? Nothing educational about these reactions sometimes that you hear, or swearing. Swearing a lot on tapes.
Yeah. I've only heard that a couple times, but yes, it does happen.
Yeah.
All right. Well, moving now into the next topic. Describe some of the things that you think a competition should tell judges of their event before the day starts, especially if it is a younger or newer panel, or there is a younger or newer judge. What are some of the things that you would make sure that your staff, your panel knows?
I've been in many a heated meeting about definitions of terms.
Okay.
And it's a constant fight, I believe. We have a little organization here in New England, and we meet every once in a while and we discuss things, and we all have our own opinions, and we're trying to not what do you call it when you standardize show choir, but we're trying to make it so that it's easily understood from contest to contest, I believe.
Okay.
So
what does show design mean?
What does show? Yes. Yeah. So I have a booklet I give each of my judges, and the first thing in the booklet is a definition of terms. Like read them.
That's good.
If you want to know what staging is, if you want to know what dynamics means, maybe you're a new judge and you don't know the difference between staging and spacing.
Like we talked about in the previous episode. Yeah.
So that would clarify it.
Or blend and balance. What's the difference between blend and balance?
So I think that's beneficial. You also go over the score sheet and kind of, the whole philosophy of the contest, so that this is the second contest. In New England, we have gold, silver, bronze, so that everybody gets something. We've always had that. It's more of a festival format.
Okay.
A
competitive festival, but in other words, there are awards, so it's not just a festival for critique only.
It's a competition.
They do get awards.
Right.
Okay.
So each group is given a rating of gold, silver, bronze by a certain number of points.
Right.
And then you have grand champion, best band with best vocals,
Captions.
all that stuff. Captions.
Okay.
On top of it, and placements.
Okay. Excellent. Right? Excellent.
So I think judges need to know that. We are consensus ranking. And there's, what's the other one? Consensus, ordinal ranking. There's all kinds of different rankings. Yeah. And they're very hard sometimes to understand, especially for new people who have never even heard of that.
Right.
So that's something to discuss. And also, what is the philosophy? Well, mine's the second one. My philosophy is we just started. You guys in Indiana might have started like 3 weeks ago. We just started. I finished my show last week. Yesterday was the first time they performed it. So we're a little different schedule than the regular show Quiet Track. So I want my judges and my critique people and my tapes to be informative and helpful and not punitive. Right. I don't think there's any reason to give below a 5 ever. I mean, you have
on a 10-point scale. On a
10-point scale. And I think of the 5 or the 6 as a median. You know,
and what is your opinion between when you hire a panel? Do you want the panel to confer to make a group decision, or do you want your individual judges to stand alone on their beliefs and then it just shakes out how it shakes out?
Yeah, the second. I'm not hiring from different parts of the country so that everything becomes the same. I think everybody's opinion on that panel is important, and it should not be coerced by anyone
or discussed
by anyone. I think that's kind of the beauty of the consensus ranking is that, I could put a 5 for diction and you could put a 9, but we both have them in third place. So,
sure.
we have that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But no one should be, I don't think there should be any talking at all about anybody.
Yeah. Okay, so one of the things that as we were preparing for doing this, you mentioned was the fact that sometimes word of mouth from one director to another about an experience that they've had positively or negatively. Right. It could be, oh my gosh, this person did the most incredible tape, you got to hire him. Or this thing happened that made me not want to hire this person. How does word of mouth affect a judge's reputation? And does it play into what you consider when you're doing it?
It's a lot. It's just like any other person and any other professional that you're going to hire. Good reputation, you have integrity, you make good tapes, you're not difficult to work with, you're not mean to people, you're professional, and you have something to say. Because, I mean, it sounds snobby, we pay a lot of money, right? Yeah. And, we need the product from that judge. So if I've gotten some word back from my people that have been at my contest that, look at what this guy said on my tape. Look at what, guy, girl, this is what was said. One person didn't say anything at all through the entire thing. Right. Or...
So in other words, you think it's important that, not that a judge talks constantly, but that they give a lot of different reactions, some
opinion,
yay, you're awesome, and some, wow, we need to work on this.
Right. Like, how are we going to know what you think if you don't say anything?
Right.
Also, with talking with other people that have contests, that this judge was so amazing, they were so nice, or this judge was so hard to work with, nothing we did pleased them.
Right.
Am I going to take a chance? Sometimes I do. Because not everything everybody says is correct.
Right.
But if you do the same thing with me, I'm not going to hire you again.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's important, that you said sometimes you do have to take a chance, because there was I'm 1,000 years old and I've judged contests for 35 years, but at some point somebody had to give me a chance to be a first-time judge.
Right.
And the person that I remember being very kind to me, the very first contest I judged was Norwell, back maybe around 1988, 1989. But the person that I have a wonderful memory about is the late Kevin Butler, who realized I was a first-year judge. I was a nervous wreck. And at one point in the day before we started, he literally put his arm around me and kind of gave me like a little side squeeze and was like, we're going to get you through this day, and you just let me know any questions that you have. And he basically, he never told me what to score or what to think or how to react. But there were 30 times during the day where I was like, okay, if this is going on, how do you respond to it? If this is happening, how do you look at this? And he just was a wise, kind counselor to me. And so the idea of taking chances on people is important, but are you somebody who believes that if you're going to have a brand new person on your panel, maybe one at a time?
Yeah. That's where the diversity comes in.
Yeah.
I think a panel of all people the same age is going to help anybody in the long run, because it will have some bearing on the mindset.
Mm-hmm.
You won't, not only do, you're looking at different areas of the country, but show choir for me and you back in the day is not show choir today.
Right.
And
right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's a completely different ball field. It doesn't mean that we're not qualified.
Right.
We're just older. But
we are good judges at what we do, but you also want good judges at what they do.
Right.
And if you get
a nice blend of
if you
age.
get this, and this, then you've got a great panel.
Right.
Yeah. How do you want judges to interact with groups on their audio tapes or in their live in-person critique sessions? How do you want them to interact as they speak to and counsel and give criticism?
Right.
Because we have to give criticism.
In order to learn something, there has to be criticism. Mm-hmm. You have to fail to learn how to succeed, I think. But there are ways of saying things. Mm-hmm. Coming into a critique and saying, "Oh man, that was kind of like really rough. That was like the worst thing I ever saw in my life. I can't believe you actually went on stage." When you could just go and go, "Oh, how'd you feel about that? That was so good. That was your first time, right?" Maybe find out something from the kids and go, "Well, here's all the things we can work on." Instead of telling them right off the bat that they were horrible and they did a bad job, they're going to shut off and feel bad about themselves.
Right.
And what good is that to the kid or the director?
Yeah.
So you have to think. You have to think like an educator when you're critiquing somebody.
When you do that, you have just taken the very reason that kids perform to feel fulfilled, to feel joy, to feel family, to feel accomplishment, and you've just stepped on it.
Right.
Yeah.
And where are you going to go from that?
Yeah.
How is that director going to pick those pieces up?
You guys
on the
stunk.
bus, on
you
the way
guys
home.
stunk, but I guess that one solo was okay.
Yeah. Well, like maybe they know deep down inside, then they're not.
Yeah.
They're not that group, but they're working really hard, and they don't have a real choreographer. They have a student do it, and they have no budget, and they had to borrow clothes from me or something.
Yeah. And how do you make them still feel affirmed, and still have hope, and still feel like the day gave them something to celebrate?
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody's leaving happy.
Yeah.
I think that's the good thing about our festival. They always call it the hug of New England. That's
awesome.
Everybody's it's very it's a good atmosphere, and that's the philosophy always behind it. And everybody is welcome, and everybody's gonna do the best they can.
That actually leads me into my last question in a really good way. How is it that when you host a competition that you make your judges feel welcomed? What are some of the things that you do that make judges want to come back to your contest? Because we've talked about it from the perspective of what are you looking for in them, but judges, sometimes a judge might be asked to judge 3 contests on the same day. What is it that you do to try to make judges feel welcomed and appreciated?
Well, first of all, I send out my questionnaire. What do you like to eat? What do you like to drink? What do you want at your table? Basically like that. I have a person in charge of judges table who set up everything you possibly could want. right behind you. Those people.
I can attest that that's true.
Yeah, there's not a moment where you need to be hungry here. We work really hard on finding your likes and dislikes, and we make little goodie bags and packages for you at your table. The parents make them. This year, I believe they did a whole New England kind of theme.
Yes, as an Indianapolis Colts fan, I received multiple New England Patriots merchandise, which I will be selling on eBay.
Ridiculous. They were going with the New England theme, so I'm like, okay. So I put them up in a hotel that was beyond New England.
A bed and breakfast.
It was
bomb.com.
The Chamberlain House, and all the linens, everything, the restaurant side, everything, very authentic New England. We made sure that you had meals, full meals, and you got goodie bags at the hotel, because sometimes you can't find a soda machine in a house from 1800. So, you get some snacks. You're coming back from judging, you get some snacks, taking you out to eat, having interaction with our staff and getting to know each other, so that, it's building community and making you feel like you're welcome anytime to come back.
And for judges, sometimes these can be, and I am not exaggerating, these can be on occasion a 20-hour day for a judge, where you sometimes you get up at 5:30 a.m. in order to be at a location at 6:30 a.m. to start judging at 7 a.m. and you might not be judging in some cases until after midnight, and that does happen. And and then you get back to your hotel, it can be 1 o'clock. And so sometimes these days can push start to finish in the 18 to 20 hour range for contest organizers, for students, but also for judges. And so I would just say that to competition hosts and directors that are thinking of starting a competition, the way it is a judge's responsibility to be appreciative of being hired and to honor that commitment by the competition by giving it everything they have for every single group, and being both positive and constructively critical. And it's also a judge's responsibility, as Becky said really eloquently, to treat everyone on site with kindness and respect and appreciation. But on the other hand, it's also important to judges that they feel appreciated by the contest. Not thrown a chicken leg and said you have 5 minutes to gnaw on this, and then the next group goes, sorry, you missed your lunch break. I think that's also a very important thing. And so if you run a competition, you want to hire a great staff based on what you're looking for. And then you want to make that staff feel appreciated. And by doing that, you build a wonderful competition reputation. And, and how is your competition's reputation attached in some cases to your bottom line? Like, how does that happen?
Because everybody feels, we get a little different situation. We only have so many, and most of the groups come that we have, but we've had outside groups too, but they know that there's gonna be merchandise, there's gonna be buttons, there's gonna be people clapping when people get off the stage. Your room's gonna be decorated. The teachers have their own room. Teachers get their bag. They get their own gift bags. And and they're not all the same. They're by we find out what different things, and make it personal. And I think that's what we go for. We decorate it so when you walk in, you feel like you're somewhere else, and it's when you walk around the corner and you see all the balloons and hanging from the ceiling, walking down into the warm-up room, something's going to happen. And
absolutely.
Before COVID, we fit more people in the auditorium, and we have this big in the pit. All the kids would go down and sit for awards and be all on top of each other. And
they will be again.
Yes, they will be again. And they make such good friends. They make friends at these things that last forever, and some people even get married and invite you to their wedding and stuff. We met here, we met there, we met at that contest, and I think it's really cool when the kids come in. I have to take this school because last year I made my best friend from that group, and now we're best friends, and can I have that group?
And can I host
that's
my
pretty
best
cool
friend? Yeah.
because back in the day, I'm gonna assume
yeah.
we weren't allowed to be friends with
Right.
other show choirs.
Right.
Nobody was allowed to know what songs we were doing, and it was very kind of
social media has destroyed
right.
that anonymity.
Right, it was very kind of like
yeah,
standoffish, and now it's just it's so much more healthy.
Yeah. Well, Becky, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
This has been great. For those of you that are hiring judges for your competitions, you know what you're looking for, and that should be that should be what you go by. But these are also just some helpful tips from somebody who has been doing it for a lot of years at hosting competitions with great success. And I thought that it would be a really nice tutorial for competition hosts as well as for new judges in terms of the impression they want to make and some of the rules of the road in terms of expectations that a competition director has for them. So this is Judging 101, Nuts and Bolts from Behind the Tiny Lamp. And this is me and Becky Bussiere saying bye-bye. God bless.